Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and I'm here with my wife Diane Paul, and Tim and Millie and Rondi tonight. So tonight we're going to study paper 40, The Ascending Sons of God, and that begins on page 443 of the Urantia book. And you'll notice behind me tonight, I actually have an original Urantia book up on the wall. That's a 1955 edition, original. So, yeah, kind of rare. All right, let's say a little prayer and we'll get started tonight. Sweetie, would you like to pray for us and get started?
Dearest Heavenly Father, Mother God, we so thank you for this wonderful opportunity to come together to study the revelation that was given to us so many years ago that will last at least throughout 1,000 years until a new revelation comes. We thank you that we can have this opportunity to be together and to share and to learn, to grow and to experience a unity that only studying the book can create. Just thank you for life and thank you for protecting us and being with us and guiding us. It is in your name, Jesus Christ, Michael, of Nebadon, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, paper
40. Yeah, I can hardly hear you. It's like a lot of bass, Roger.
Oh, do you think it's our fan, maybe?
Yeah, maybe this.
It's not as the clarity isn't that good. It's really high, like the bass is high, where your voice is kind of hard to understand.
Okay, so you couldn't hear my prayer?
I really couldn't hear the prayer.
Okay. Not too far away, honey.
There's a lot of confusion in the audio.
In the audio?
Yes.
Okay, well let me redial everybody. It's probably my connection then.
Hey Roger, you sound like you're way off. Like you're a distance away.
It always sounds like that.
Oh, okay.
In
Okay,
this new
well
house.
let me go to tools here and see if it'll let me adjust it real quick on the fly.
Okay.
It probably will not. Test 1, 2, 3. Test. It looks okay on the scale.
Maybe you should do speakers and headphones, high definition.
Okay, let me just redial everybody. Okay.
Diane sounds like she's underwater.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Okay.
Let me redial.
The audio is important.
See if we get a better connection this time.
You need to talk louder.
I'm here.
Project more.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'll keep reminding Diane to
We
speak
don't
up.
have video on Tim.
Yeah, he
Yeah, I
just turned
switched
it
video
off.
off.
Yeah, that's fine. I like looking at the central circle.
Okay. All right, see how we do now. Okay, Tim, would you like to start out for us tonight on paper 40, please?
Paper 40, The Ascending Sons of God. As in many of the major groups of the universe being 7 classes, 7 journal classes, of the Ascending Sons of God have been revealed. 1. Father-fused mortals. 2. Son-fused mortals. 3. Spirit-fused mortals. 4. Evolutionary seraphim. 5. Ascending material sons. 6. Translated midwayers. 7. Personalized adjusters.
Okay, so in the deities we discovered the descending sons of God, right? So now we're going to study the ascending sons of God. And what do they mean by ascending sons of God? These are beings, including mortals, who actually go through the process of going through the evolutionary scale to get to paradise. So that includes all mortals. It includes evolutionary seraphim, because the seraphim go up the scale with us to paradise, right, and to Seraphington. It also includes the ascending material sons. Now, when Adam and Eve comes to the planet, eventually, when the planet reaches light and life, the Adam and Eve is released to go on the same pathway that we do to go to paradise. So that's the material sons. Also, the translated midwayers, the midwayers that are assigned to this planet for thousands and thousands of years. When we reach light and life, they will be released to go on the pathway of the Paradise Ascension Plan. And also personalized adjusters. Adjusters that have been given personality. If they're the souls they were watching do not make it. They serve over and over again, and eventually, if they don't get a person that actually survives and goes on the ascension plan, they can be personalized, and then they will go on the ascension plan separately, okay, on their own, even though they're a father fragment.
Wasn't Jesus' adjuster?
Personalized,
But-
yes, he was.
So the personalized adjuster becomes an actual person on the same ascension career as we are?
As we are, that's right. The difference is, remember that personalized adjustment is a father fragment. So if that father fragment does not get a person to attach to meld with, to become one with, then eventually the father chooses to give him his own personality separate. And that's what's happened with Jesus' adjuster. He served in Melchizedek when he was on the planet, and then he served in Jesus. And since he served in a creator son on such a higher level, the Father went ahead and personalized him, and he is the chief of all the adjusters on the planet right now. Eventually he will go through the ascension plan, just like we do.
Are the personalized adjusters given Morancha body?
Yeah, just like they'll be given a Morancha body just exactly like we will when we get to the mansion worlds. So, all right. Let's figure out the light. And this is a slide of the different types of ascending sons of God. I was bored, so I threw this together this week.
Looks good.
Well, I can't take all the credit. The little beings come from the Encyclopedia Urantia. I cut and pasted them out of it and then added the type. So, put little Father, Son, Spirit, and the rest of them are self-explanatory.
So I take it the PA is personalized adjustment?
Yes.
Yeah, personalized adjuster. PA's a personalized adjuster. That's a translated midwayer. Those are the ascending material sons and daughters, and then the evolutionary seraphim, and then spirit fused, son fused, and father fused mortals.
It's very comforting to know that we're part of that whole experience with so many ascending sons, other
different
sons than
types of
ourselves.
beings. Yeah,
Beings, yeah.
yeah. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes, I can read the next one, but this conversation was very confusing. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, you want to ask questions, Millie? I'll explain it to you. Which ones do you not understand? These are the ones we're going to study tonight now. Is that what's confusing you?
But you started talking about all sorts of other things that are on this list. And that's okay. I will read the next paragraph and maybe it will come to me.
Okay. The seven. All right. Let me make a clarification because I don't want you to leave here totally confused. The beings on this list are the 7 types of beings that are ascending sons of God, and that includes the Father fused, Son fused, Spirit fused mortals, evolutionary seraphim, ascending material sons, translated midwayers, and personalized adjusters. Those are the 7 types of beings that are considered ascending sons of God.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what we're going to study. Okay.
The story of these beings, from the lowly animal origin mortals of the evolutionary worlds to the personalized adjusters of the universal Father, present a glorious recital of the unstinted bestowal of divine love and gracious condensations throughout all time and in all universes of the far-flung creation of the paradise deities.
Okay, so what they're telling us here is we're all on the same footing, right? We all start out as lowly animal origin, the lowest type of being possible, with the exception of the three groups there. That would be whom? That would be the seraphim. That would be the material son. Now the midwayers start out as lowly beings too. They're just above us, and also a personalized adjuster who are father fragments.
Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah. Yeah, the first 3, the Father, Son, and Spirit fused mortals are all lowly beings. Okay. All right. Gotta remember to switch both of these. Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one?
These presentations began with a description of the deities, and group by group, the narrative has descended the universal scale of living beings until it has reached the lowest order of life endowed with the potential of immortality. And now am I dispatched from Salvington, one time immortal of origin, on an evolutionary world of space, to elaborate and continue the recital of the eternal purpose of the gods respecting the ascending orders of sonship, more particularly with regard to the mortal creatures of time and space.
So this being that's teaching us tonight, Mighty Messenger, started out as a mortal, just like we did. Okay, so he's experienced all this, all the way through it. So,
He was
I had a question, Roger.
huh?
I just had a question, Roger. When they say the word gods, what are they referring to?
They referred to gods as God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit, and all the Creator sons and the local universe creator mother spirits. They're considered all gods. Our concept of God. Really, our concept of God, the highest concept of God that we have, is probably the personality of Jesus of Nazareth, of Michael, right? He's the highest concept that we can conceive of as God. But our Father, God the Father, is His Father, right? And God the Son is His Father also.
Would God the Ultimate and God the Supreme be involved in that list?
That would also, it's actually God the Sevenfold, and that includes the Supreme Being also. So, all those deities. And in the actuality, the Ancients of Days is included with that also. So they're considered gods to us because they're the ones that make the decisions of our ultimate continuing life. That's why
and although it says gods, it's really one God.
there's really one God, even though, but the problem is this, it's better, he would have been better off saying deities
Yeah. That's
rather than God, right? Because deities cover everyone that's above us. But there really is only one God the Father, always have been, always will be, right? But there's many other manifestations of deity, both equal to God the Father, like God the Son, God the Spirit, and under God the Father, which includes all the Creator Sons and Creative Mother Spirits, right? And God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, God, all of those, right? But God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and all the seven of those, the seven ultimates, are all part of the original God the Father. All right. Okay.
Roger, I should add that this paper is presented by Mighty Messenger, like you were saying, that was once mortal,
Yeah.
and that covers the I am. That's what we were talking about here.
That's right. It does. Now, remember, a Mighty Messenger is a mortal that's gone all the way through the ascension plane, right?
Yeah, we could be a Mighty Messenger one day as well.
That's right. That's right. And it could be our job one day, right? He's gone out and been assigned to Gabriel of Salvington as his an associate, so that's why they asked him to relay this paper. Okay.
I think you skipped one.
Oh, did I?
One more paragraph. Since
Oh.
the greater part of this narrative will be devoted to a discussion of the three basic orders of ascending mortals, consideration will first be given to the non-mortal ascending orders of sonship: Seraphic, Adamic, Midwayer, and Adjuster.
Okay, so they're going to spend most of the time on this paper on mortals, but they want to go ahead and give us an overview of the other four, right? That's what they're saying. Okay, so let's start on, because normally they would just go through the list when they tell us them, right? Number one, evolutionary seraphim. Mortal creatures of animal origin are not the only beings privileged to enjoy sonship. The angelic orders, the angelic host also share the supernal opportunity to attain paradise. Guardian seraphim, through experience and service with the ascending mortals of time, also achieve the status of ascendant sonship. Such angels attain paradise through Seraphington, and many are mustered in the core of mortal finality. So they go to paradise through Seraphington instead of Ascendington, right? We go through Ascendington, but the angels go through Seraphington, all right? And they can go through the seraphic core completion that way. They also can be mustered into the core finality, just like we do, okay? All right. Tim, would you take the next one?
To climb to the supernal heights of finality or sonship with God is a masterly achievement for an angel, an accomplishment for transcending your attainment of eternal survival through the plan of the eternal Son and the ever-present help of the indwelling adjuster. But the guardian seraphim and occasionally others do actually affect such ascensions.
All right, we'll make this piece self-explanatory. All right. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. 2. Ascending material sons. The material sons of God are created in the local universe along with the Melchizedeks and their associates, who are all classified as descending sons. And indeed, the planetary atoms, the material sons and daughters of the evolutionary worlds, are descending, coming down to the inhabited worlds from their spheres of origin, the capitals of the local system.
Okay, so remember, the material sons was the last order to be created, right, of descending sons. Okay, the material sons and daughters were created by Michael alone, right? Remember when the local universe mother spirit created the seraphim, at the same time the creator son creates all the material sons and daughters, okay? And these material sons and daughters, one of their jobs is to become planetary Adams and Eves, right? That's not their only job, but that's one of their jobs. So many of them, there's one assigned to every single planet, okay? So they are descending sons to start out with, but after they've served their time on a planet, and the planet comes to light and life, they're released to become ascending sons, okay? And on rare occasions, they get released early to become ascending sons, like ours did. Now ours defaulted and they were rehabilitated, so they immediately became the ascending sons of God and were taken to the mansion worlds and given Marancha bodies, right? They don't go back to becoming material sons again. Once you've been a material son and you do a bestowal, then you become an ascending son. Regardless, you don't go back to being a material son and daughter again. Okay? That's the process. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please? Rodney, you out there?
Sorry about that. I forgot it. Okay. When such an Adam and Eve are wholly successful in their joint planetary mission as biologic uplifters, they share the destiny of the inhabitants of their world. When such a world is settled in the advanced stages of light and life, this faithful material son and daughter are permitted to resign all planetary administrative duties, and after being thus liberated from the descending adventure, they are permitted to register themselves as perfected material sons on the records of the local universe. Likewise, when planetary assignment is long delayed, may the material sons of stationary status, the citizens of the local systems, withdraw from the activities of their status spheres and similarly register as perfected material sons. After these formalities, such liberated Adams and Eves are accredited as ascending sons of God and may immediately begin the journey to Nirvana and paradise, starting at the exact point of their then life status and spiritual attainment. When they make this journey in company with the mortal and other ascending sons, continuing until they have found God and have achieved the core of mortal finality in the eternal service of the paradise deities.
Okay, so as perfected Adams and Eves, or perfected material sons and daughters, when they arrive, when they are given their Marancha body, they may skip one or all of the mansion worlds, okay? Because they will start out whatever level they are at. So if they're at the level of the local universe headquarters, they may start out at Adentia. They may start at, they can start out at any point along the way, but they will be giving a Marancha body of that point. You got it? So they don't have to start with the mansion world number 1 and go through each one. Because of why? Because they've gotten to a point of material perfection.
What happened to our Adam and Eve?
They were rehabilitated, it says. So more than likely, they started out in the first mansion world and had to stay at least 10 days in each mansion world until they progressed to the point of their status.
But it only
this
took
is-
them
this is
2,000
speaking
years.
generally of Adam and Eve who succeed,
Yeah,
not
this
those
is,
who default.
that's right, not those who default. But we know that from the papers on Adam and Eve that our Adam and Eve, even though they defaulted, they were rehabilitated and they went on to the ascension plan. So they started somewhere either in the mansion worlds or on the system capital, one of the two.
But it's because they are part of the 24 Council. Didn't they make it awfully quickly to do the 2,000 years?
They
Isn't
had to have.
that-
So,
Isn't that unusual? Because other
Yeah.
Adam and Eves are required to stay
is.
through.
and since they're on the Council of the 24, it would make sense that they are on the capital, right? Right, rather than Salvington.
All right.
Right,
I
okay.
just had a question, Roger.
Yes.
It's on the very first section, 1, Evolution Seraphim, just where it says, such angels attain paradise through Seraphington. So they go to Seraphington, and then after that planet, they go to paradise?
That's right, they go to Seraphington and that planet Paradise, where we will go to Ascendington, okay, and then Paradise. That's the difference,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
All right.
So, Roger,
Yeah,
Adam and Eve, the material sons, they receive the same Marancha body as mortals.
right.
So one day, we may be in the same class as an Adam and Eve.
I guarantee you we'll be in the same class as Adam and Eve,
So,
right?
and then they'll be no different than we are.
They will be no different than we are. The difference is, Rodney, that normally when an Adam and Eve is in a class, they are always considered the head of the class, okay? Because they have had a leadership responsibility on their mortal world for many, many decades, right? So they always become the master of the class, or the head of that class, regardless of which one we're in. So if we are in a class with Adam and Eve, they will be our peers in essence, even though they will be in charge of the class.
Question, and you might not know the answer to this. Adam and Eve were 7, 8 feet tall.
Right.
We're 5 and 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Are Morancha bodies going to be different like that?
No, our Morancha bodies is probably going to be standardized, Millie. They'll probably all look and resemble the same. The difference is they'll take on the characteristics of the mortal types that we were. So if we look the way we do now, we're going to resemble that look when we get to the mansion worlds, because people recognize each other, the essence of each other. We're going to not
Yeah,
go
well,
looking.
like Jesus, when he came back, he
Yeah.
was recognizable.
He was recognizable, but not. He doesn't look
By his personality.
by his personality, not his looks.
Exactly.
No, right? Yeah. So.
I had a question, Roger. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, but since Adam and Eve, even though Adam and Eve were 8 foot tall on this planet, that's because of their. That's because they were brought down from Adentia, right? And so they resemble what they were when they left there. That's why they're so tall. So when they get back to their Morancha bodies, they'll probably be more standardized. I heard Bill Sadler tell this story once. They probably have this big room full of blank bodies, just blanks. And then the thought adjuster, the guardian angel, brings back your personality and your soul, and they zap this back into this blank and give it a spark of life, and bam, you're back alive again.
Kind of like an assembly line.
Kind of like an assembly line, really. So these blanks, may be this big blob of Morancha matter, and when they zap your soul back in it, it takes the shape and the form of something familiar to you. So you're not totally shocked with this new form and new body. But you can imagine they might have millions and millions of these blanks, and when they know somebody's going to come, they just bring a blank up and set it down on the table, and then the thought adjuster shows up, the guardian angel shows up, and bam, they put your soul back together in this blank, and suddenly you don't look like a blob anymore, you look like who you were, or similar to who you were. So, and that's probably a pretty good illustration of what happens.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder who you were at what age.
Well, it kind of gives you the impression that everybody will be like 30 or 40 years old, in a mature body, but not an aged one, because these bodies are going to last us forever. And another interesting thing, talking about these bodies, is your body starts to reflect who you are personally. So if you're a really good person, you'll be beautiful. But if you're really rotten to the core and you make it anyway, so your body won't look so good. So
Will it start looking better after you become?
it'll start looking better after you
perfected.
become more and more perfected.
In my physical life, I've already lost an inch in height.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
yeah.
That happens. That happens.
Yeah.
Lost at least an inch. So maybe in my Morancha body, I will gain that inch back, and maybe I will get another inch.
You might get a couple feet back.
I just had a question, Roger, for you.
Sure.
As we ascend up, they refer to us as spirits. Does that mean we become a thought adjuster?
No, we don't. We never become a thought adjuster. And we really don't become spirits until we're ready to leave Salvington, when we're ready to leave our local universe capital. And that does not happen until you appear before Jesus and he says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." At that point, you're ready to become a first stage spirit. So up to that point, and all these millions of years maybe perhaps, you have been a Morancha type being, 590 different types of Morancha type beings. So by the time you get to be a spirit form, you're ready to leave the local universe, then you'll get a spirit body rather than a Morancha body, which is totally different.
So it's kind of like another form of another body, or I'm just trying to figure out what the word spirit means when they refer.
It's a tuning. I like to think of it as a tuning of your body. You go on a different, you might think of a different frequency. You're closer and closer to a body that's got less substance and more spirituality. Right?
Thank you, Roger. Thank
Okay.
you.
I think you just start dropping, as as you get tuned, you drop more of the physical until you totally shed all physical.
That's right. That's right. That's true, Rodney. Okay, let's keep going now. I think, Rodney, I think you're up next.
Well, I just read that last one.
Oh, did you?
I guess me.
I guess Diane's up then.
I'll
Who's
read
that?
it again.
Translated midwares.
Yeah.
3. Translated midwares. Although deprived of the immediate benefits of the planetary bestowals of the descending sons of God, though the paradise ascent is long deferred, nevertheless, soon after an evolutionary planet has attained the intermediate epochs of light and life, if not before, both groups of midway creatures are released from planetary duty. Sometimes the majority of them are translated, along with their human cousins, on the day of the descent of the Temple of Light and the elevation of the planetary prince to the dignity of planetary sovereign. Upon being relieved of planetary service, both orders are registered in the local universe as ascending sons of God, and immediately begin the long paradise ascent by the very routes ordained by the progression of the mortal races of the material worlds. The primary group are destined to various finaliter corps, but the secondary or Adamic midwayers are all rooted to enrollment in the mortal corps of finality.
Okay. How do I approach this? Remember, the midwayers stay on a planet for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Some of them are released when we reach light and life. Others, some of them are released along the way. Remember when Adam and Eve left, some of the midwayers were translated too. So some of them can be translated at other times, but normally they all wait to light and life. And the primary midwayers, the first group, is, it says here, destined for various finaler corps, right? So they'll be doing different jobs than the secondary midwayers, who will be going along with us, the mortal corps of finality, because they're more like us. The primary are more spiritual than the secondary, okay? So they're on a higher level. But that's when the midwayers normally go, but they can go early, like ours did, some of them. Anyway, personalized adjusters.
I had a question, Roger.
Yeah, Tim.
What does the word translated mean?
That means going from a physical body to a Morancha body. It's death, basically. It's what we consider death. Really, physical death is like walking through a door. That's all it is. And that's hard.
Go ahead.
It's hard for people to imagine this. But your physical body, when you leave your physical body, it's just like I turn around and walk through this door. It's just that simple. You go from one physical form to another, because to us, mentally, socially, everything, we think that we just closed our eyes and woke back up. That's how quick it is. Okay? Doesn't matter how long it is, the sleep from the time you die till the time you wake up. To your mind, it's just like you close your eyes and open them again. It's just that fast. So that's why they call it translated. You're translated from one form of being, which is physical, to a higher form of being, which is Morancha. That's all it
It's
is.
unfortunate that the Christians can't understand
Yeah.
what Jesus showed them.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
It is, because Jesus made 19 appearances in his Morancha form. Wouldn't you think that would have been the most important part of the story of Jesus? Is the fact that
It's just not related to the
it's
Bible.
not.
People don't understand that
Yeah.
he showed you, you will live after you die.
That's
after
right.
your body dies, you still exist.
Yeah, you got a whole new form. That's the whole point about it. And that's what's really interesting, is so little of that ended up in the New Testament. And so important. 19 appearances, that's a lot of appearances.
We will not appear to our friends and neighbors
No.
in a Morancha form. That
No.
was a dispensation that Jesus was granted.
That's
That
right.
was different from what we'll get.
Yeah, well, he's the creator of our local universe, so he can do what he wants to, right?
And Roger, if somebody were to ask you, what is a finaliter, what would you tell them?
I would tell a finaliter has gone through the paradise ascent, met God the Father, and actually changed their lives to follow one command. Be ye perfect even as I am perfect. That's what a finaliter is. So you have dedicated your life to the perfection of God.
Wouldn't you qualify it with, working your way through the magic worlds and meeting Jesus?
That's all part of it. It is.
Yeah.
But really
Because the Bible says you can't go to heaven except through me.
that's right. You can't.
So you've got to accomplish what you have to accomplish on our particular universe.
That's
And be
part of the be
acknowledged by
ye
Jesus
perfect.
before you can then go on.
Yeah, but that's part of the be ye perfect, Millie. You're following the will of God all the way through the paradise ascent. And the finaliter is really when you get to the point where you have accomplished the will of God and through
I
yourself.
think that you've become perfect.
Pardon me?
I think it's that you've become perfect.
Will become,
Hallelujah, that should never happen to me.
that we, what did he
I'm
say?
thinking that's it. That you have become perfect.
Oh yeah, you have become perfect.
That's right.
That's right.
Roger,
You-
you got it.
That's what I'm saying. You have followed the command, be ye perfect even as I am perfect, right? When you get to that point, that's when you stand before God the Father. Because you've gone through the paradise ascent, you've learned how to be perfect over millions and millions of years. People think you die and you go to heaven, you're going to stand before God. You don't. You got a long way to go to be able to recognize God. Because we're such a, there's such a
Not gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
a long
long journey. Yeah, we got a lot of things to learn on the way.
a lot of things to get rid of.
That's right. A lot of things to get rid of.
A lot of things to get rid of.
Okay, let's keep going. Personalize it. Who's up? Me? I think I'm up.
You
All
are.
right, personalized adjusters. When immortals of time fail to achieve the eternal survival of their souls in planetary association with the spirit gifts of the Universal Father, the thought adjuster, such failures is never in any way due to the neglect of duty, ministry service, or devotion on the part of the adjuster. You see that? Never. At mortal death, such deserted monitors return to Divinington, and subsequently, following the adjudication of the non-survivor, they may be reassigned to the worlds of time and space, sometimes after repeating services of this sort following some unusual experience, such as functioning as the indwelling adjuster of an incarnated bestowal son. These efficient adjusters are personalized by the Universal Father. Okay, so these are adjusters that's gone through the entire lifetime with one or more individuals, and because of no fault of the adjuster, these people have not survived, whether they chose to or they never intended to, right? Okay, now why someone would do that, I don't know, but it happens all the time. Okay, and then following the adjudication of these non-survivors, in other words, they're judged, they're not awake, but their guardian angel has to go and justify her job and tell why this person did not survive. Then these adjusters are released and they go back to Divinington. Some are reassigned and they go through this all over again. And many times, after doing this several times, they are personalized. They are given their own separate experiential personality. That is what makes them different than an adjuster, right? A personalized adjuster is an experiential being. An adjuster is not. Okay? When they become personalized, they start experiencing life like we do. Okay? And that's what they're talking about here. And many of them get assigned to bestowal sons, not only creator sons and that sort of thing, but avonals and magisterial sons, right? So, those sometimes are given their own personality because they can't stay with that being, right? Because they're already descending sons of God, right? So that's how they become personalized adjusters. Okay. Tim, would you take the next one?
Personalized adjusters are beings of a unique and
Could you
unfounded.
speak up a little bit, Tim? We can't hear you.
Personalized adjusters are. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you now.
Okay. Personalized adjusters are beings of a ununique and unfathomable order, originally of existential pre-personal status. They have spiritualized by participation in the lives and careers of the lonely mortals of the material worlds. And since the personality bestowed upon these experienced thought adjusters takes origin and has its wellspring in the Universal Father's personal and continuing ministry of the bestowals of experiential personality upon his creature, creation, these personalized adjusters are classified as ascending sons of God, the highest of all such orders of sonship.
Of course, because they're a
Mm,
father
very
fragment. Yeah. All right. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Got it. Number 5, the mortals of time and space. Mortals represent the last link in the chain of those beings who are sons of God. The personal touch of the original incarnation passes on down through the series of decreasingly divine and increasingly human personalizations until they arrive at a being such like yourselves. You can one you can see, hear, and touch, and then you are made to spiritually aware of the great truth of which your faith may grasp, sonship with the eternal God.
So we are the last link on the chain. Okay? We are the stepping down from the eternal Son through the Creator Sons, through the creation of the Creator Sons, all the way down to the very bottom comes mortals, right? Okay, and this is our this is passed down from the eternal Son down to us. Okay, all the way down to little lowly creatures, right? And so we start at this very bottom rung, and we claw our way up on the way to paradise, one rung at a time, and we learn and learn and learn and learn and become more and more and more perfected in that process, right? So this earth and this life is the first step, or the first grain of sand on millions and millions and millions of steps or grains of sand, right? That's what it is. So we start at the bottom and we work our way up. All right. The thing about both father-fused, son-fused, and spirit-fused mortals, we all start at the same spot, right? Regardless of which one we fuse with. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Likewise, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, this original and infinite spirit, by a long series of decreasingly divine and increasingly human orders, draw nearer and nearer to the struggling creatures of the realms, reaching the limit of expression in the angels, than whom you were created, but a little lower, who personally guard and guide you in the life journey of the mortal career of time.
Okay, so the infinite spirit down steps herself through the creative local mother spirit, and they create an expression in the with the angels, and then all the way down to us. So we're going to study both the Father fused, the Spirit Son fused, and the Spirit fused. All right, here we go.
Can I just had a question, Roger?
Sure.
They're talking about the mortal career of time. Are they talking about we're already dead, or the ascension career, or we're
Yeah,
here right now
yes.
living in their houses?
Really, we're dead when we start the ascension career, right? We're dead physically. That's when our real life starts, is when we're dead physically. Our real life starts when we get our Morancha form. Our physical life is the vestibule to our real life. Okay? So this is our jump off point. That's the best way to explain it. Really. So your life is really the vestibule to your real life. That's what it boils down to. All
We're
right?
sort of like caterpillars right now.
We're like
We
caterpillars.
end up being butterflies.
That's right. That's right. Actually, we're caterpillars right now. We end up turning into larvae, and that's our Morantia career, right? We're larvae all the time. We're the Morantia form. And then when we are ready to leave our local universe, that's when we actually turn into a butterfly. That's when we become
Maybe this is
spirit.
what it was intended for, to show us.
That's right. That's right. That's when we turn into this beautiful creature, a spirit creature, when we leave the local universe. So, kind of interesting, isn't it? All right. Who's up? You?
God the Father cannot thus downstep himself to make such near personal contact with the almost limitless number of ascending creatures throughout the universe of universes. But the Father is not deprived of personal contact with his lowly creatures. You are not without the divine presence. Although God the Father cannot be with you by direct personality manifestation, he is in you and of you in the identity of the indwelling thought adjusters, the divine monitors. Thus does the Father, who is the farthest from you in personality and in spirit, draw the nearest to you in the personality circuit and in the spirit touch of inner communication with the very souls of his mortal sons and daughters.
Okay, so even though the Father is in paradise, he is in every single being that has a thought adjuster throughout all the universes, because that's why they call it a Father fragment. And he keeps in touch with each and every Father fragment through the Father's personality circuit. Right? So he knows what's going on with every being all the time. Okay? Next, spirit identification constitutes the secret of personal survival and determines the destiny of spiritual ascension. And since the thought adjusters are the only spirits of fusion potential, must be identified with man during the life in the flesh, the mortals of time and space are primarily classified in accordance with their relation to these divine gifts, the indwelling mystery monitors, or thought adjusters. This classification is as follows. 1. Mortals of transient or experiential adjuster sojourn. Okay. 2. Mortals of non-adjuster fusion types. And 3. Mortals of adjusting fusion potential. Now, let me explain what these three are to make it clear to you. Okay. Mortals of transient or experiential adjuster sojourn. Who would that be? That would be material sons and daughters. That would be bestowal sons. People that are given thought adjusters for a short period of time that they don't get to keep. Okay? Those adjusters go on, right? Then you have mortals of non-adjuster fusion types. There's a whole class of mortals that are incapable of fusing with the Father fragment. And we're going to learn about those in just a minute. All right? And then there's mortals of adjuster fusion potential. That's us. These are mortals who are given an adjuster and have potential of fusing with that adjuster. Okay, so we have transient or adjusters that don't stay with you, and then mortals who can't fuse with their adjuster, and then we have mortals who can fuse with their adjuster, right? That's the three. All right, let's keep going. Series 1. Okay, Tim, would you take that?
Series 1. Mortals of Transit or Experiential Adjuster Sojourn. This series designation is temporary for any evolving planet, being used during the early stages of all inhabited worlds except those of the second series.
Okay, so what are they telling us here? These are all those beings that early in a planet that has no spiritual concept. Okay? Many times they're giving just adjusters to help them out along the way during that period of time, but they have no concept of God the Father whatsoever. You follow me? So there's no possible way they would ever fuse with an adjuster. You see that? So they're transient. Mortals of this nature, like early men, cavemen normally do not survive. Okay, they don't go on to the mansion worlds because there's nothing salvageable. You understand why there's nothing salvageable? They have no spiritual life. Okay,
They don't really have a soul.
they don't develop a soul. That's right, Rodney. This is early stages of man, and this would also include anyone who gets a temporary adjuster, right? Okay, let's go on. All right.
That's very depressing.
It is sad, yeah.
It is kind of sad. Millie, would you take the next
I
one?
agree. That's
I just had a question, Roger. So these are individuals that are down here on the planet that list 1 through 3 are for people. The first one, perhaps people that can't or don't have a thought adjuster, and 2 would be like, let's say, where they cannot receive it. They tried, but they can't do it.
Yeah.
And then number 3.
Well, let's go into the next paragraph. It's going to make a little more sense. Let's read it and then ask your questions at that point. Millie, would
Okay,
you-
these could be our ancestors.
These could be ancestors. These could very well be our ancestors. This is
They
early man.
can't-
This is
they
the
can't
pre.
refuse- They can't receive an adjuster.
Right. This is
They can reproduce.
this is
So
a.
maybe the people they reproduce could receive thought adjusters.
Well, see, this is the 500,000 years before the Calagasta 100 came to the planet. That was these type of beings, right? This is.
Andon and Punta.
Pardon me.
Andon and Punta before that.
And then before that. That's right. Okay.
Okay,
Even hearing actually.
here we go. Mortals of series of 1 inhabited the world. Mortals of series 1 inhabited the worlds of space during the earliest epochs of the evolution of mankind and embraced the most primitive types of human minds. On many worlds, the pre-Adamic erotic great numbers of the highest and more advanced types of primitive man acquired survival capacity but failed to obtain adjuster fusion. For ages upon ages, before man's ascent to the level of highest spiritual volition, the adjusters occupied the minds of those struggling creatures during their short lives in the flesh. And the moment such will creatures are indwelt by adjusters, the group guardian angels begin to function. While these mortals of the first series do not have personal guardians, they do have group custodians. Whoa.
So they're under group guardianship, aren't they? Because they never make spiritual concepts, in their minds. Okay? So we're going to find out some of these end up going on to the mansion worlds. Okay? They make a decision to survive. And if they do, these are the types of beings that will become sun fused and spirit fused. Okay? All right. So let's keep going.
I just had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
If series 1, if they can't fuse with the adjuster, then the adjuster becomes a personalized adjuster, correct?
No. These are the types of beings that virgin adjusters goes out and experiences an entire life with these types of humans to gain experience. Okay? And we know that from studying the papers on the thought adjuster, we'll do that later, Tim, but we know that almost everyone on Urantia has experienced adjusters. We don't usually get virgin adjusters, so all the adjusters on this planet has served at least one lifetime in these types of beings. And since they knew they could not fuse with these types of beings, they gain the experience and they take that experience and knowledge to us in their next sojourn in us. And these are the experiences that we gain from our adjuster as we fuse with him when we get to the mansion worlds. Okay? So this is the type of things our adjusters went through before they came to be adjusters in us. Okay?
I don't want to know that my ancestors were not capable of accepting an adjuster and went away.
Well, many of them didn't go away, Millie. We're going to find that out here in a minute. Many of them become spirit fused and sun fused. Okay? So let's go on.
Okay, an experiential adjuster remains with a primitive human being throughout his entire lifetime in the flesh. The adjusters contribute much to the advancement of primitive men, but are unable to form eternal unions with such mortals. This transient ministry of the adjusters accomplishes two things. First, they gain valuable and actual experience in the nature and working of the evolutionary intellect, an experience which will be invaluable in connection with later contacts on other worlds with beings of higher development. Second, the transient sojourn of the adjusters contributes much towards preparing their mortal subjects for possible subsequent spirit fusion. All God-seeking souls of this type achieve eternal life through the spiritual embrace of the Mother Spirit of the local universe, thus becoming ascending mortals of the local universe regime. Many persons from pre-Adamic Urantia were thus advanced to the mansion worlds of Satania.
So that all's not lost, is it? These mortals are available, their pathways available to become spirit-fused beings, right? All right, let's keep going.
The gods who ordained the mortal man should climb to higher levels of spiritual intelligence through long ages of evolutionary trials and tribulations. Take note of his status and needs at every stage of the ascent. And always are they divinely fair and just, even charmingly merciful, in the final judgments of these struggling mortals of the early days of the evolving races.
Okay, so the gods are aware of this. In other words, deity is aware of this the whole way. Series 2, Mortals of Non-Adjuster Fusion Type. These are specialized types of human beings who are not able to effect eternal union with this indwelling adjusters. Type classification among the 1, 2, and 3 brain races is not a factor in adjuster fusion. All such mortals are akin, but these non-adjuster fusion types are a wholly different and markedly modified order of will creatures. Many of the non-breathers belong to this series, and there are numerous other groups who do not ordinarily fuse with adjusters. Now, these are groups of people in Series 2 that are physically modified in some way to survive on the harsh planets that they live in. And because of the change, many of them experimental planets like we are, because of the change, their physical body and their mental capabilities are not set up to fuse with adjusters. They just cannot do it.
They're just not capable.
Pardon me?
They're just not capable.
They're just not capable of it. And that original type form of who they are when they go to the mansion worlds, they're still not able to affect that connection with the adjuster. Okay? And many of the non-breather worlds are this. Okay? Let's go on. It's going to tell us a little bit more here. Okay, Tim, would you take this one?
Like series number 1, each member of this group enjoys the ministry of a single adjuster during lifetime in the flesh. During temporal life, these adjusters do everything for their subjects of temporary dwelling that is done on other worlds, where the mortals are a fusion potential. The mortals of this second series are often indwelt by version adjusters, but the higher human types of often in liaison with masterful and experienced monitors.
So many of our version adjusters do a stint in these types of beings. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Millie, would you take the next one?
God. In the ascendant plan for upstepping the animal origin creatures, these beings enjoy the same devoted service to the Son of God as is. Am I turned on?
Yeah.
Father,
Of the sons of God, that's what he said, Millie.
Enjoy the same devoted service as the sons of God as is extended to the Urantia type of mortals. Seraphic cooperation with adjusters on the non-fusion planets is just as fully provided as on the worlds of fusion potential. The guardians of destiny minister on such spheres just as on Urantia and similarly function at the time of mortal survival, at which time the surviving soul becomes spiritually based.
No, spirit fused.
Spirit fused.
Right. So the guardians of destiny and the adjusters do the same service for these beings as they do for us. The only difference is when they wake up on the mansion worlds, or when they get ready to fuse, they will fuse with the spirit fragment rather than the father fragment. Okay? That's the only difference. All right.
when you encounter the modified moral types of the mansion worlds, you will find no difficulty in communicating with them. There, they speak the same system language, but by a modified technique. These beings are identical with your order of creature life in spirit and personality manifestations, differing only in certain physical features and in the fact that they are non-fusible without adjusters.
So they're just like us, with the exception that they can't fuse with a thought adjuster. They'll fuse with...
They speak the same system language. So, I don't understand that.
Okay, think about this. They speak the same system language. They are non-breathers. So when they get to the mansion world, they give them a physical form that is familiar to them. They will still be non-breathers. Okay? So in order for them to speak, they have to do it by a modified technique. They don't have air coming out of their vocal cords, right? So your Morantia form has a similarity to the physical form, because that's what you're used to. So they will be given a form of something that they're used to. They don't breathe, right? So their way of communication will be modified or different than ours. But you'll be able to communicate.
We'll still be able to understand.
We'll still be able to understand them. That's right. Maybe we'll speak to them with telepathy.
Same system language is almost.
Telepathically. What did I say?
Tilapia fish.
Well, I mean,
You were thinking of fish as non-breathers.
Yeah.
I've never done well with foreign languages.
I haven't either, Millie.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one thing that scares me about the ascending plan.
Well, it almost sounds like when we get our larger bodies that we may already know the system language.
No, that's not true, Rod, and we have to actually
Never
learn
taught
it.
that. I don't know.
We have to actually learn it. That's one of the first things we do on Mansion World #1 is we start to learn the system language.
We use the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, really, Rosetta Stone does
I
well.
remember back.
Yeah.
Second grade.
Okay.
As to just why this type of creature is never able to fuse with the adjusters of the Universal Father, I am unable to say. Some of us incline to the belief that the life carriers, in their efforts to formulate beings capable of maintaining existence in an unusual planetary environment, are confronted with the necessity of making such radical modifications in the universe plan of intelligent will creatures that it becomes inherently impossible to bring about permanent union with the adjusters. Often have we asked, is this an intended or an unintended part of the ascension plan? But we have not found the answer. Yeah, I would
So-
question that too.
Yeah, so it's a mystery to them too.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Series 3, Mortals of Adjuster Fusion Potential. That's us, right? All father fused mortals are of animal origin, just like the Urantia races. They embrace mortals of the one-brained, two-brained, which we are, and three-brain types of adjuster fusion potential. Urantians are of the intermediate or two-brain type, being in many ways humanly superior to the one-brain groups, but definitely limited in comparison to the three-brained orders. These three types of physical brain endowments are non-factors in adjusted bestowal, in seraphic service, or any other phase of spirit ministry. The intellectual and spiritual differences between the three brain types of characterizes individuals who are otherwise quite alike in mind endowment and spiritual potential, being greatest in the temporal life and tending to diminish as the mansion worlds are traversed one by one. From the system headquarters on, the progression of these three types are the same, and their eventual paradise destiny is identical. So even though there's a three-brain type being out there, which we aren't, we're a two-brain. We got an upper brain or a lower brain, a physical brain. That's what they're talking about. If you study anatomy, you'll learn all about that, right? Okay. There are beings that's created on other planets that are three brains, so they have extra function that we do. But when we get to the mansion worlds, these differences start to go away because we all get Morancha bodies, right? So by the time we hit the system capitals and go on to from Salvington, there's no difference in us whatsoever, okay?
I can understand two-brained, we have a right and left brain. But what in the world is a three-brain?
Well, it's really not the right and left brain, really. It's the upper and lower brain. The upper brain is the two halves, the two hemispheres. The lower brain is the autonomic nervous system, which is the lower part of your brain. I usually I had a model of a brain here for years and years. I'd show you all, but
We moved.
we moved. It's probably out in the storage room. But that's what they're talking about. So apparently there's one that's got three different levels rather than two. And the three levels may be able, the third brain allow them to communicate telepathically or something. You know, who knows? You know,
But they got big heads.
they probably have big heads. Yeah.
So
You know-
Roger, we're only going to have one brain? We never get two or three?
We
No.
have two.
We have to right now.
Right.
Well,
We're the two brain. We'll never have three. Probably when you get to the mansion worlds, you have one very good one. You know. So, or who knows? Maybe we have four brains. It's possible. Okay, Tim, would you take the next one?
The unnumbered series. These narrators cannot possibly embrace all of the fascinating variations in the evolutionary worlds. You know that every 10th world is a demicile or
Decimal.
experiential planet.
That's
Decimal or
Yeah.
experiential planet, but you know nothing of the other How do you pronounce that?
Variables.
Variables.
That punctuate the processional of the evolutionary spheres. There are differences too numerous to narrate even between the revealed orders of living creatures, as between planets of the same group, but this presentation makes clear the essential differences in the relation to the ascension career. And the ascension career is the most important factor in any consideration of the mortals of time and space.
That last sentence of this paragraph is the most important sentence to us in the entire book, probably.
Really?
It is. And the ascension career is the most important factor in any consideration of the mortals of time and space. So that tells us that our number one job while on this planet is to learn what? About the ascension career, right? Ascending to God. That's the most important thing. And it goes on to, it says at the beginning of this that there are so many different series of beings that they can't even list them all, right? In the revealed orders of beings, and that does not even include the unrevealed orders of beings. It also mentions that this, about the decimal planets. We are a decimal planet. So every 10th planet, they're allowed to tweak the DNA and make changes, and that's what we got. Okay? Millie, would you take the next
Hey,
one?
Roger,
Yeah.
this next paragraph that Billy's going to read, I've got really highlighted. A lot of stuff around.
You'd be glad to know that I do too, Rodney. The whole thing is highlighted.
That'll be good.
All right, read it for us, Millie.
As to the changes of mortal survival,
Chances.
of mortal survival, let it be made forever clear. All souls of every possible phase of mortal existence will exist provided they
Will survive.
What?
Will survive.
Will survive provided they manifest willingness to cooperate with the indwelling adjuster and exhibit a desire to find God and to attain the divine perfection that even though these desires be but a first flicker of the primitive comprehension of that true light which lights every man who comes into the world.
So every type of being and every type of soul and every type of created mortal out there, there will be survivors, right? All of them. All they have to do is be willing to cooperate with the adjuster and have a desire to find God. That's all it takes.
Roger, that I used to be spooked that maybe I'm not going to be a survivor, but I think back when I was growing up in the church I grew up in, being taught about hell, you may go to hell and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But this paragraph here really reminds me of, I know that Lucifer, part of his manifestation, or part of his train of thinking was that he said, look, the ascension career is pretty well automatic.
It's automatic. It really is.
The way he viewed it
Yeah.
was, look, everybody survives.
Everybody survived. That's his attitude, because from the outward look, that's the way it looks, Rodney. It really does look like everybody survives as long as you have these two things. A willingness to cooperate with your adjuster and a desire to find God. That's all it takes. You know?
So it's really, we're saying it's very few that don't survive.
That's right. We're saying it takes a conscious effort almost, Rodney, to not survive. It takes a decision, right? That's what they're talking about here. It takes a decision. It takes a decision to survive. It takes a decision not to survive, right? That's why they say in the Urantia book it's decisions, and more decisions, right? So, let's move
As
on.
long as you don't watch the news in Atlanta 5 and 6 and 7, you know we will all survive.
That's right.
I'm with you, Ronnie. Let me go answer that stupid telephone.
All right. Who's up? Millie?
Rodney?
Rodney? Rodney?
Yeah, Millie just read.
Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Of course. Okay, this is number 6, the faith sons of God. I've got this highlight too. Mortal races stand as the representatives of the lowest order of intelligent and personal creation. You mortals are divinely beloved, and every one of you may choose to accept the certain destiny of a glorious experience, but you are not yet by nature of the divine order. You are wholly mortal. You will be reckoned as ascending sons. The instant fusion takes place, but the status of the mortals of time and space is that of faith sons prior to the event of the final amalgamation of the surviving mortal soul with some type of eternal and immortal spirit.
Okay.
Some type.
Yeah, any type of mortal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really. Basically, we are not ascending sons until we fuse with the adjuster. That's what it's saying here. Up till that point, including now, we are considered faith sons of God. We assume by faith that we are sons of God. We've accepted the challenge of the ascension plan. That makes us sons by faith. We are faith sons of God. And we will stay faith sons of God even when we get to the mansion worlds until we fuse with the adjuster. And at that point, we are considered real sons of God, no longer just faith sons of God.
Now,
Right.
I wish Bill was still with us because he and I used to read this section right here quite a bit together.
Yep. Yep. I miss Bill. Wish he would come back.
Bill's kind of dropped off from us.
Yeah, he
He'll be
had.
back around.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's you.
It is a solemn and supernal fact that such lowly and material creatures as your rancher human beings are the sons of God, faith children of the highest. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. As many as received him, to them gave he the power to recognize that they are the sons of God. While it does not yet appear what you shall be, even now, you are the faith sons of God. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of sonship, whereby you cry, Our Father. Spoke the prophet of old in the name of the eternal God. Even to them will I give in my house a place and a name better than sons. I will give them an everlasting name, one that shall not be cut off. And because you are sons, God has sent forth the Spirit of His Son into your hearts.
Amen.
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 Okay? When you fuse with your adjuster, you are given a new name. That's the name they're talking about. Right here. I will give them an everlasting name. You will receive a new name rather than just your human name. You will have a new name as a son of God when you fuse. Okay? So you'll be set aside, set up like a pedestal, as a son of God. Okay? All right. Let's see. All evolutionary worlds of mortal habitation harbor these faith sons of God, sons of grace and mercy, mortal beings belonging to the divine family and accordingly called the sons of God. Urantia mortals are entitled to regard themselves as being sons of God because. Oh, I want to mention something too. I'm going to skip back one paragraph here. I want to mention something too. In this previous paragraph,
Obviously, these are from the Bible,
they are
these quotes.
right in the middle. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear. You see that?
I'm looking
There is no hell to be afraid of. You are not in bondage to fear, but you have received the spirit of fusion, whereby you cry, Our Father.
I found it.
Our
So
Father.
that's got to be in the Bible, right?
It is. Okay.
I wonder where.
Okay, let's keep moving on. One more. Tim, would you take the first one?
1. You are sons of spiritual promise, faith sons. You have accepted the status of sonship. You believe in the reality of your sonship, and thus does your sonship with God become eternally real.
It's by faith we are saved. It's by faith we believe we are sons. Right? Number one. Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
Turn the speaker on. A creator son of God became one of you. He is your elder brother, in fact. And if in spirit you become truly related brothers of Christ, the victorious Michael, then in spirit must you also be sons of the Father, which you have in common, even the universal Father along.
Now we know Jesus or Michael came from God as a son of God, right? Alright. So that makes Michael or Jesus our elder brother, right?
No.
You know, it's funny you mention that because the Mormons actually say they refer to Jesus Christ as our elderly brother.
That's right. He is. He's our elderly brother. Okay? Because he is the son of the Son, right? Son of the eternal Son. And son of God the Father. Which makes God the Father, Father to all. The universal Father. Right?
Glad you brought that up, Tim.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, number 3. You are sons because the spirit of a son has been poured out upon you, has been freely and certainly bestowed upon all your races. This spirit ever draws you toward the divine Son, who is its source, and toward the Paradise Father, who is the source of that divine Son.
So
It's like a magnet.
the Spirit of truth is the Son's Spirit, right? And it comes down through the eternal Son, through Christ Michael, to us, and is poured out upon all flesh. That happened on Pentecost, right? And that Spirit dwells within us. So that makes us what? Sons of God.
Sons of God.
That's right. We're in that Son circuit, in essence. Okay?
But like it's saying, it draws us,
It draws us towards
which is also
Christ
from God.
Michael, and then it draws us towards the eternal Son, which draws us towards the Father. Right? That's the
You want to
circuit.
go back to the source.
You want to
It's
go
just
back
like it's
to
a
the...
magnet
That's right.
drawn to it.
Where the divine Spirit comes from, it always returns.
Always.
Right. That's right. All right. Rodney, would you take 4?
Sure. Number 4, of his divine free willingness, the universal Father has given you your creature personalities. You have been endowed with a measure of that divine spontaneity of free will action, which God shares with all who may become his sons.
Okay, so because of the Father's personality circuit, we have a part of the personality of the Father in us. Okay? Plus our own personality. So we're within that circuit, and it's through His free willedness that He bestowed this upon us. Okay? And it's our free willedness to accept that sonship and try to seek Him out. Right? Okay. Did you take the next one?
5. There dwells within you a fragment of the universal Father, and you are thus directly related to the divine Father of all the sons of God.
And there's actually a fragment of God the Father within us, right? All right. 7. Father-fused mortals. The sending of adjusters, their indwelling, is indeed one of the unfathomable mysteries of God the Father. These fragments of the divine nature of the universal Father carry with them the potential of creature immortality. Adjusters are immortal spirits, and union with them confers eternal life upon the soul of the fused mortals. So how do you get eternal life? This is the secret, the paragraph of the secret of eternal life. And how is that? To fuse with your because God the Father is eternal. He gives you a Father piece of Himself. You fuse with that piece of Himself, and then you become eternal at that moment. Make sense?
You know, it's cool because you recognize that every person you make contact with, they have that God fragment, the same fragment you have within you, and they are your brother.
That's right.
You are talking
Every human,
about
right?
God fragment.
Yeah. Every human in the world, Rodney, isn't
You
it?
love them and you're respectful of them.
That's right. We should love one another and respect one another just because of that Father fragment, if nothing else. Right?
Exactly.
All right. Okay, Tim, would you take the next one?
Your own races of surviving mortals belong to this group of the ascending sons of God. You are now planetary sons, evolutionary creatures derived from the life carrier's implantations and modified by the Adamic life infusion, hardly yet ascending sons. But you are indeed sons of ascension potential into the highest heights of glory and divinity attainment. And this spiritual status of ascending sonship you must attain by faith and free will, cooperation with the spiritualizing activities of the indwelling adjuster. When you and your adjusters are finally and forever fused, when you two are made one, even as in Christ Michael the Son of God and the Son of Man are one, then in fact you have become the ascending sons of God.
It all boils down to faith, right? That's what it all boils down to. Having faith that you're sons of God. Okay. Billy.
Yes. The details of the adjusted career of the indwelling ministry on a probationary and evolutionary planet are not a part of my assignment. The elaboration of the great truth embraces your whole career. I include the mention of certain adjuster fusions
Functions.
I'm sorry, what?
Adjuster functions.
Adjuster functions in order to make a replete statement regarding adjuster fused mortals. These indwelling fragments of God are with you, with your order of being, from the early days of physical existence through all of the ascending career in Nebadon and Orvanton and on through Havan, or paradise itself. Thereafter, in the eternal adventure, this same adjuster is one with you and of you.
It becomes you, right? And you become it, right? That's what fusion's about.
So, better get along with your adjuster because he's there for eternity.
That's right.
Forever.
Forever.
inseparable for all time, right?
This whole paper is very difficult for me. Very, very difficult. Aside from the fact that my eyes aren't working, but aside from that, the understanding of the paper is very difficult.
Well, it almost seems like
I will go over it again when I get the tape from Roger. I will do it again and again.
Yeah.
Billy, it almost sounds like you're trying to read from the computer what he's got on the screen there.
I'm trying to read from the book because I can't read the screen.
Can't read the screen.
You don't have your glasses today?
I have my glasses. My eyes are just not working.
It's the pollen.
It's pollen, Millie.
We're dealing with the same thing,
Yeah.
Millie.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's awful.
Are you guys coughing a lot?
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord, yes.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
White pollen everywhere.
We walked outside a while ago and you can actually see it moving through the air.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so bad.
Yeah, we got that too in Texas.
Do you
Yeah.
really?
The,
Oh, gracious.
the last check I had with the doctor, he did some blood work. He said you're light on vitamin D. You need to go to the store and get some vitamin. I said if it quit raining, I'd go outside and get some vitamin D. Okay, well now it's quit raining. If you go outside to get the vitamin D from the sun, you're going to be overcome with this yellow stuff.
Yeah.
And you looked at your pine trees. You can stare at a pine tree for a while, and you'll see it just shake.
Yeah.
And then a yellow cloud comes off of it.
Yeah.
It'll tremble,
Yeah,
and a yellow cloud comes off of it. You should say,
it does.
no.
Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Okay, these are the mortals who have been commanded by the Universal Father. Be you perfect, even as I am perfect. The Father has bestowed Himself upon you, placed His own Spirit within you. Therefore, does He demand ultimate perfection of you. The narrative of human ascent from the mortal spheres of time to the divine realms of eternity constitutes an intriguing recital not included in my assignment. But this eternal adventure should be the supreme study of mortal man.
The ascension plan again, isn't it? That's what they're talking about. That should be the supreme study of mortal man, is the ascension plan. And why is that? Because the Father has commanded us to be perfect. Because why? Because He gave Himself, a piece of Himself, to be within us. And He will not tolerate anything but what?
Exactly. Well, that fragment is
Perfection.
perfect.
That's right. Perfection. That's right.
But I thought we could never be perfect like the Father.
We may not be able to in this life, Tim, but that is our eternal goal, is
Yeah,
perfection.
that is the command.
That's the command. That's right. It's not an option. He doesn't say it's a good idea for you to be perfect.
Try to be the best you can.
Try to be the best you can. He doesn't say
Not
that.
with us anymore.
Yeah.
If you fuse with your adjuster, then that's it.
Yeah. That's
You're
it.
gone.
All right. Here we go.
Fusion with the fragment of the Universal Father is equivalent to a divine validation of eventual paradise attainment, and such adjuster-fused mortals are the only class of human beings who all traverse the Havana circuits and find God on paradise. To the adjuster-fused mortal, the career of universal service is wide open. What dignity of destiny and glory of attainment await every one of you? Do you fully appreciate what has been done for you? Do you comprehend the grandeur of the heights of eternal achievement which are spread out before you? Even you who now trudge on in the lowly path of life through your so-called vale of tears.
This is interesting because the exclamation point in this paragraph, they don't stick these in very often in this book, but they do it right here, right? So, what dignity and destiny of glory of attainment await you, each and every one of you? Exclamation point. You see that? Do you fully comprehend what has been done for you?
Well, it's almost like they're saying we're spoiled.
That's right. Do you comprehend the grandeur of the heights of the eternal achievement which is spread out before you? In other words, he's saying, can you realize what's happening
Yeah,
here?
your earthly toil is nothing. I mean, do you really realize?
Yeah, yeah.
Our so-called veil of tears.
So far, veil of tears.
Yeah.
He might as well say, you know, pull up your bootstraps and stop acting like a child. You know?
You're whimpering.
Yeah. All right. Sun-fused mortals. While practically all surviving mortals are fused with their adjusters on one of the mansion worlds or immediately upon their arrival of the higher Morontia spheres, there are certain cases of delayed fusion, some not experiencing this final surety of survival until they reach the last educational worlds of the universe headquarters. And a few of these mortal candidates for never-ending life utterly fail to attain identity fusion with their faithful adjusters. So there's some beings that just cannot seem to fuse with their adjusters. So this is what happens to them. Tim, would you take the next one?
And these are individuals that are fused with the Creator Son, correct?
Right.
Or
Okay,
with,
such more. What was that?
or with the spirit. One or the
Yeah,
other.
the Son or the
The
Spirit.
infinite spirit?
Yeah, the Spirit are Spirit-fused mortals. Though. These are Sun-fused mortals they're talking about here. Okay?
Yeah, these are individuals that fuse with
The
the
Son.
Creator Son.
Yeah. Fragment. Yeah. Okay.
Not the eternal Son, right?
Right. But the Creator Son.
Okay. Such mortals have been deemed worthy of survival by the adjudicational authorities, and even their adjusters, by returning from Divinington, have concurred in their ascension to the mansion worlds. Such beings have ascended through a system, a constellation, and through the educational worlds of the Salvaton circuits. They have enjoyed the 70 times 7 opportunities for fusion and still have not been unable to obtain oneness with their adjusters.
So these beings have gone all the way to Salvington without fusing for some reason. They just cannot seem to do it. Okay? All right.
It's
So
interesting they put that sentence, they have enjoyed 70 times 7.
yeah. So everything's been done for fusion, but they just can't seem to do it. Okay. Billy?
Okay. Is my speaker on? Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, practically, is that where I start?
No, when it becomes apparent that some
Two paragraphs down.
When it becomes apparent that some synchronizing difficulty is inhibiting father fusion, the survival referees, that's a new word, we haven't seen that word here before. Survival referees of the Creator Son are convened. And when this court of inquiry, sanctioned by a personal representative of the Ancients of Days, finally determines that the ascending mortal is not guilty of any discoverable cause for failure to attain fusion, they so certify on the records of the local universe and duly transmit this finding to the Ancients of Days. Thereupon does the indwelling adjuster return forthwith to Divinington for something, for what?
for confirmation.
For confirmation by the personalized monitors. And upon this leave taking, the Morontia mortal is immediately fused with an individualized gift of the Spirit of the Creator Son. Wow.
So they can't figure out why they can't. Even the ancient days concur that they should be able to fuse, but they can't for some reason. So they are given an individualized gift of the Spirit of the Creator Son, which makes them a Sun-fused mortal.
But they gave him a second chance.
That's right.
They gave him something special.
Something special. Rodney, would you take the next one?
But they don't tell us what could possibly cause you not to be able to fuse with
It's
your
kind of a mystery, Millie.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't even know to tell us.
Yeah.
Why don't they know? I mean, they are them.
I can't tell you. I don't know either.
Even Even they don't know.
Yeah.
Even the ancients of days does not know.
Yeah. Because they just concur that there's nothing that
It's a
they've
mystery.
done, that they've done wrong. So,
It
all
is
right.
part of the supreme.
yeah. Rodney, would you take the next
Just
one?
happens.
Okay. Much as the miraculous spheres of Nebadon are shared with the spirit-fused mortals, so do these sun-fused creatures share the services of the Orphaton with their adjuster-fused brethren who are journeying inward towards the far distant home of paradise. They are truly your brethren, and you will greatly enjoy their association as you pass through the training worlds of this super universe.
Okay, so we'll meet many of these along the pathways through the local universe.
And they'll just be our brothers.
That's right.
Sun-fused mortals are not a numerous group, there being less than 1 million of them in the super universe of Avanton. Aside from residential destiny on Paradise, they are in every way the equals of their adjuster-fused associates. They frequently journey to Paradise on super universe assignment, but seldom permanently reside there, being as a class confined to the super universe of their nativity.
So they might go to paradise on assignment, but they won't stay there. They'll go back to the local universe.
Interesting.
Okay? Spirit-fused mortals. Ascending spirit-fused mortals are not third source personalities. They are included in the Father's personality circuit, but they have fused with individualizations of the pre-mind spirit of the third source and center. Such spirit fusion never occurs during the span of natural life. It takes place only at the time of mortal reawakening in the Morancha existence on the mansion worlds. In the fusion experience, there is no overlapping. The will creature is either spirit fused, sun fused, or father fused. Those who are adjuster or father fused are never spirit or sun fused. So if you fuse with the adjuster, you will not become a sun fused or spirit fused mortal. Only these beings who can't fuse with their adjuster are these. Okay, Tim, would you take the next one?
The fact that these types of mortal creatures are not adjuster fusion candidates does not prevent the adjusters from indwelling them during the life in the flesh. Adjusters do not work in the minds of such beings during the span of
Adjusters
material
do
life.
work.
Yeah, do work.
Tim, it's adjusters do work, not do not. Okay?
Well, you had me going there for a minute.
Yeah. Adjusters do work in the minds of such beings. Okay.
Adjusters do work in the minds of such beings during the span of material life, but never become everlastingly one with their people's souls. During this temporary sojourn, the adjusters effectively build up the same spirit counterpart of mortal nature, the soul, that they do in the candidates for adjusters. Up to the time of mortal death, the work of the adjusters is wholly akin to their function in your own races. But upon mortal dissolution, the adjusters take eternal leave of these spirit fusion candidates and proceed directly to Divinity, the headquarters of all divine monitors. There await the new assignments of their order.
So the adjuster leaves them, and this is an important fact because of memory. Okay? And we're going to talk about that. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. When such sleeping survivors are repersonalized on the mansion worlds, the place of the departed adjuster is filled by an individualization of the spirit of the divine minister, the representative of the infinite spirit in the local universe concerned. The spirit infusion constitutes the supervising creatures, spirit
Surviving.
fused. Say again.
Surviving creatures in the spirit fusion.
The spirit infusion constitutes these surviving creatures, spirit fused mortals, such beings are in every way your equal in mind and spirit, and they are indeed your contemporaries, sharing the mansion and Morancha spheres in common with your order of infusion candidates and with those who are to be sun-fused.
Okay, so they share the mansion worlds with us, but they are candidates to be spirit-fused mortals. And they get this fragment of the spirit through the infinite spirit, through the local universe mother spirit, right? And that's how they become fused.
So spirit fused mortals, Roger, are fused. They're with the divine mother spirit. That's what spirit fused mortals are. It's not the infinite spirit.
Well, it's a fragment that comes from the infinite spirit.
Oh, I got a cramp.
Sorry. But it comes through the local universe mother spirit. So it's actually a fragment of the local universe mother spirit. So spirit fused mortals are residents in the local universe, and they will always be residents in the local universe because their fragment comes from and through the local universe mother spirit. That makes sense?
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Now the sun-fused mortals are become resident of the super universe, right? The local super universe, right? Or Vantan. Okay, that's the difference. The spirit are the local universe, right? Nebadon. That's the difference. Okay, let's keep going.
That's interesting.
All right.
Okay, I've got this next first part mark highlighted.
All right.
There is, however, one particular in which spirit-fused mortals differ from their ascended brethren. Mortal memory of human experience on the material worlds of origin survives death in the flesh because the indwelling adjuster has acquired a spirit counterpart or transcript of those events of human life which were of spiritual significance. But with spirit-fused mortals, there exists no mechanism whereby human memory may persist. The adjuster transcripts of memory are full and intact, but these acquisitions are experiential possessions of the departed adjusters and are not available to the creatures of their former indwelling, who therefore awaken in the resurrection halls of the Morancha spheres of Nebadon, as if they were newly created beings, creatures without consciousness of former existence.
So, because we have an adjuster that returns to us, we immediately have memory when we are awakened, right?
That's what it's telling us.
Yeah, because our adjuster carries our transcript of personality, right? So we know who we are when we wake up. These beings, when they wake up, do not have that adjuster transcript available, okay? So they have to be re-rehearsed by their guardian seraphim of their life, okay? And that's the only way they have any tinge of a former existence.
Well, so in other words, it's almost like they were just born.
They feel like they were just born,
They
Rodney,
were.
when they awaken. Because there's no memory of the adjuster to bring back, right? Okay, and then let's go on. It tells how they get their memory back here. Okay, here.
Such children of the local universe are enabled to repossess themselves of much of their former human memory experience through having it retold by the associated seraphim and cherubim and by consulting the records of the mortal career filed by the recording angels. This they can do with undoubted assurance because the surviving soul of experiential origin in the material and mortal life while having no memory of mortal events, does have a residual experiential recognition response to these unremembered events of past experience.
So they'll go to some hall, like a records hall, like the records hall of past lives, and they will be re-rehearsed of everything that's happened in their life, right? So they have that memory again, because the adjuster's taken that memory with him. That's his experiential memory, right? All right. When a spirit-fused mortal is told about the events of the unremembered past experience, there is an immediate response of experiential recognition within the soul or identity of such a survival, which instantly invests the narrated event with the emotional tinge of reality and with the intellectual quality of fact. And this dual response constitutes the reconstruction, recognition, and validation of the unremembered facet of mortal existence. So that's how they gain their memory back, right?
Painful too.
Yeah, it would be. Tim, would you take the next one?
Even with adjuster fusion candidates, only those human experiences which were of spiritual value are common possession of the surviving mortal, and the returning adjuster and his are immediately remembered, subsequent to mortal survivor. Concerning those happenings which were not of spiritual significance, even these adjuster fusers must depend upon the attributes of recognition response and their surviving soul. And since any one event may have a spiritual connotation to one mortal but not to another, it becomes possible for a group of contemporary senders on the same planet to pool their store of adjuster remembered events and thus to reconstruct any experience which they had in common and which was of spiritual value in the life of any one of them.
So even we only remember the things that have spiritual value, right? But since we all experience things together, any one of us may have something that's of spiritual value that another experienced also. So we can reclaim any memory by getting together in groups and rehearsing what happened to us during our lives.
So, Roger, you know as well as I do that all of us right now are going to be in a class in the future, a Maranta, and we're gonna talk to each other to remember these events.
Yeah.
Now, I always wondered about the spiritual significance. What it exactly is talking about.
Well, any human relationship, Rodney, has spiritual significance, right? Because,
Spiritual, yeah.
yeah, so almost any experience could have spiritual value. So, but there's some things, mundane things we do over and over and over, which will not matter, right?
Well, I know many times, like if you get together with family members, they have an experience that you may have forgotten, and when they talk about it, then you remember it.
Exactly.
You
That's
know.
what
And pictures, of course, also, activate that too.
You want to take the next one here?
Okay. While we understand such techniques of memory reconstruction fairly well, we do not grasp the technique of personality recognition. Personalities of one-time association mutually respond quite independently of the operation of memory, albeit memory itself and the techniques of its reconstruction are necessary to invest such mutual personality response with the fullness of recognition.
So even they don't understand everything that is involved in it, right? Okay. A spirit-fused survival is also able to learn much about the life he lived in the flesh by revisiting his nativity world subsequent to the planetary dispensation in which he lived, in other words, after 1,000 years, right? Such children of spirit fusion are enabled to enjoy these opportunities for investigating their human careers since they are in general confined to the service of the local universe. They do not share your high and exalted destiny in the paradise choral finality. Only adjuster-fused mortals or other especially embraced ascendant beings are mustered into the ranks of those who await the eternal deity adventure. Spirit-fused mortals are the permanent citizens of the local universe. They don't leave here normally. They may aspire to paradise destiny, but they cannot be sure of it. In Nevadon, their universe home is the 8th group of worlds encircling Salvington, a destiny heaven of nature and location much like the one envisioned by the planetary traditions of Urantia. Okay, we have one section left. Y'all want to keep going and finish this paper tonight? Probably take us another 5-10 minutes maybe?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I am.
All right. Tim, would you take the next one? Ascendant Destinies?
Spirit-fused mortals are, generally speaking, confined to a local universe. Sun-fused survivors are restricted to a super-universe. Adjuster-fused mortals are destined to penetrate the universe of universes. The spirits of mortal fusion always ascend to the level of origin. Such spirit entities unfailingly return to the spirit of primal source.
Okay, so this is tells us where the spirit are local universe, the sun are super universe, and adjuster fusion, we go on to all the universes, right? All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Spirit-fused mortals are of the local universe. They do not ordinarily ascend beyond the confines of their native realm, beyond the boundaries of the space range of the spirit that pervades them. Some fused ascendants likewise rise to the source of spirit endowment, for such as the truth spirit of a creator son focalizes in the ascended divine minister, so is his fusion spirit implemented in the reflective spirits of the higher universes. Such spirit relationship between the local and the super-universe level of God, the sevenfold, may be difficult of explanation, but not of discernment, being unmistakably revealed in those children of the reflective spirits, the seraphic voices of the Creator's sons. The thought adjuster, heading from the Father on paradise, never stops until the mortal son stands face to face with the eternal Son.
So each type of spirit goes back to its source, right? The spirit fuse go back to the local universe because that comes from the mother spirit, right? The sun fuse goes back to the 7 reflective spirits, which is one of the 7 spirits around paradise, or the sun spirit, right? That's where the source of that is. And then, of course, the thought adjuster is from the source is God the Father, so that we go all the way to paradise back to the Father, right? Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yeah, but I do have a question,
Yeah.
Roger. The last sentence is saying that the thought adjuster never stops till the mortal son stands face to face with the eternal God.
Right.
So in other words, the thought adjuster stops when you come face to face. So mighty messengers, it's already stopped.
Yeah, Mighty Messengers has met God the
But
Father.
finaliters,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's already stopped.
Yeah, and there's many other pathways too, Rodney. You know, you can become Trinity embraced, and there's other pathways too. You don't just mortals don't just become finaliters. You can become a mighty messenger. You can become a Trinity embraced being. There's several pathways you can reach God too, right?
Okay. All right. The mysterious variable in associative technique whereby mortal being does not or cannot become eternally fused with the indwelling thought adjuster may seek to disclose a flaw in in the ascension scheme. Sun and spirit fusion do superficially resemble compensations of unexplained failures in some detail of the Paradise Attainment Plan. But all such conclusions stand in error. We are taught that all these happenings unfold in obedience to the established laws of the Supreme Universal Rulers.
In other words, the way this happens, this is not something that's bad for these individuals this happens to. This is part of the plan of the whole universe. To
So
keep,
in other words, like we were talking, I don't know when it was before, we need to have permanent citizens.
that's right, throughout the entire universe. That's right. That's what this is about.
Just roll of the dice.
That's right.
We have analyzed this problem and have reached the undoubtedly conclusion that the consignment of all mortals to an ultimate paradise destiny would be unfair to the time-space universes, inasmuch as the courts of the Creator Sons and of the Ancients of Days would then be wholly dependent on the services of those who were in transit to higher realms. And it does seem to be no more than fitting that the local and the super-universe governments should each be provided with a permanent group of ascendant citizenship, that the functions of these administrations should be enriched by the efforts of certain groups or glorified mortals who are of permanent status, evolutionary complements of the Abundantes and of the Cessatia. Now it is quite obvious that the present ascension scheme effectively provides the time-space administrations with just such groups of ascendant creatures. And we have many times wondered, does all this represent an intended part of the all-wise plans of the architects of the Master Universe, designed to provide the Creator's Sons and the Ancients of Days with a permanent ascendant population, with evolved orders of citizenship that will become increasingly competent to carry forward the affairs of these realms in the universe ages to come?
See, this is the time-space
Yeah.
universes. So they have to have beings that will be around to help take care of
Maintain stability.
stability in these universes. That mortal destinies do thus vary, and no wise proves that one is necessarily greater or lesser than the other, merely that they differ. Adjuster fuse ascenders do indeed have a grand and glorious career as finalators, spread out before them in the eternal future, but this does not mean that they are preferred above the ascendant brethren. There is no favoritism, nothing arbitrary in the selective operation of the divine plan of mortal survivor. So that does not make us more special than these beings are, right? Tim, would you take the next one?
While the adjuster fuse finalators obviously enjoy the widest service opportunity of all, the attainment of this goal automatically shuts them off from the chance to participate in the age-long struggle of some one universe or super-universe. From the earlier and less settled epochs to the later and established eras of relative perfection attainment, finalators acquire a marvelous and far-flung experience of transit service in all 7 segments of the grand universe, but they do not ordinarily acquire that intimate knowledge of any one universe, which even now characterizes the spirit-fused veterans of the Nebuchadnezzar Corps of completion. These individuals enjoy an opportunity to witness the ascending processional of the planetary ages as they unfold one by one on 10 million inhabited planets, and in the faithful service of such local universe citizens, experience superimposed upon experience upon the fullness of time ripens in high quality of wisdom, which is engendered by focalized experience, authoritative wisdom. And this is in itself is a vital factor in the settling of any local universe.
So these beings benefit by being in one local universe over long periods of time, and they become the experts in that universe, right? Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
An it is with the spirit fusers, so is it with those suns fused mortals who have achieved residential status on Universal. Some of those beings have hailed from the earliest epochs of Ebon time, and they represent a slowly accumulating body of insight, deepening wisdom, which is making ever augmentating service contributions to the welfare and eventual settlement of the seventh of the universe.
So they become more and more valuable to the to these super universes, right?
This is one of the areas where they didn't use enough commas and periods.
Yeah, they did.
It just goes on and on and on and on.
No. Rodney, would you
Okay,
take?
but the ultimate destiny of these stationary orders of local and of super universe citizenship will be, we do not know. But it is quite clear when the Paradise Founders are pioneering the expanding frontiers of divinity in the planetary systems of the first outer space level. Their sun and spirit fused brethren of the ascended evolutionary struggle will be acceptably contributing to the maintenance of the experiential equilibrium of the perfected super universes while they stand ready to welcome the incoming stream of paradise pilgrims who may, at that distant day, pour in through orbit time and its sister creations as a faster questing torrent of these now uncharted and uninhabited galaxies of outer space.
Okay, so
In
they
other
believe.
words, our universal one, as well as the rest, all these separate 7 super universes are going to be a stopping off point for the outer space fellows to experience as they go toward the Father.
That's right. That's right.
While the majority of spirit fusers serve permanently as citizens of the local universes, all do not. If some phase of their universe ministry should require their personal presence in the super universe, then would such transformations of being be wrought in these citizens as would enable them to ascend to the higher universe, and upon the arrival of the celestial guardians with orders to present such spirit-fused mortals at the courts of the Ancients of Days, they would so ascend, never to return. They become wards of the super universe, serving as assistants to the celestial guardians, and permanently, save for those few who are in turn summoned to the service of Paradise and Havona.
So they can be summoned to Paradise, Havona, or the Ancients of Days and become a higher citizen, right? Okay. Let's skip over. Like their spirit-fused brethren, the sun fusers neither traverse Havona nor attain paradise unless they have undergone certain modifying transformations. For good and sufficient reason, such changes have been wrought in certain sun-fused survivors, and these beings are to be encountered ever and anon in the 7 circuits of the central universe. Thus it is certain numbers of both sun and spirit-fused mortals do actually ascend to paradise, do attain a goal of many equal ways to that of the which awaits the father-fused mortals. Tim, would you take the next one? Tim, you out there?
Yes. Father fused mortals are potential fanaters. Their destination is the Universal Father, and him do they attain. But within the preview of the present universe age, phenomenons as such are not destiny attainers. They remain unfinished. Creatures, six-stage spirits, and hence non-active in the evolutionary domains of the pre-light and light status.
So when we become phenomenators, we're just sixth-stage spirits, and we're awaiting the next epoch to become seventh-stage spirits, and that's when the Supreme Being will come into full fruition. Millie, we'll take the next one.
Yes. When a mortal phenomenon is trinitized Trinity embraced, and becomes a trinitized son, such as the mighty messenger, then has that phenomenon attained destiny, at least for the present universe age. Mighty messengers and their fellows may not in the exact sense be seventh stage spirits, but in addition to other things, the Trinity embrace endows them with everything which a phenomenon will sometimes achieve as a seventh stage spirit. After spirit fused or sun fused mortals are trinitized, they may pass through the paradise experience with the adjuster fused ascenders, with whom they are then identical in all matters pertaining to super-universe administration. These trinitized sons of selection or of attainment, at least for now, are finished creatures in contrast to the phenomenators who are at present unfinished creatures.
So the Trinity embrace changes the phenomenator from a sixth-stage spirit to more of a final type of spirit, right? Which would be a seventh-stage spirit. So, in essence, it really kicks them up above the present phenomenators, right? Our experience really will come in the outer space levels or in the future, right? So this is the mighty messenger that's telling this story. So he's gone through this experience. All right.
Hey Roger, what exactly is the seven circuits of the central universe?
The seven circuits of the central universe, that is the seven bands of Havona, the billion worlds of Havona. That's what they're talking about, going through the circuits one by one. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Uh-huh. All right. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Thus, in the final analysis, it would be hardly proper to use the words greater or lesser in contrasting the destinies of the ascending orders of sonship. Every such son of God shares the fatherhood of God, and God loves each of his creature sons alike. He is no more a respecter of ascended destinies than is he of the creatures who may attain such destinies. The Father loves each of his sons, and that affection is not less than true, holy, divine, unlimited, eternal, and unique. A love bestowed upon this Son and upon that Son individually, personally, and exclusively. And such a love utterly eclipses all other facts. Sonship is the supreme relationship of the creature to the Creator.
So it doesn't matter which destiny all beings attain. They all are the same in the eyes of God the Father. Right? All right. Dear, would you take the last one, please?
As mortals, you can now recognize your place in the family of divine sonship and begin to sense the obligation to avail yourselves of the advantages so freely provided in and by the Paradise Plan for mortal survival, which plan has been so enhanced and illuminated by the life experience of a bestowable Son. Every facility and all power have been provided for ensuring your ultimate attainment of the paradise goal of divine perfection. Presented by a mighty messenger temporarily attached to the staff of Gabriel of Salvington.
What a wonderful paper. Right.
What a wonderful paper.
It is, yeah.
It
really.
is.
Oh.
It is. Let's say a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Father, thank you for such a wonderful opportunity for us to learn about our sonship. We thank you and we give you the praise for this information. We pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember it to share with others. We thank you and we give you the praise in your Son's name, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you
Yeah, I
for
just
joining
want
us.
to remind everybody that tomorrow is Easter, April 9th.
April